All right, here we are in the middle of a large game changer food plot by Stratton Seed. So this was planted back in the spring. Kind of had an off growing season. It's been really hot in some portions, but super dry, kind of two big dry periods. But as you can see, the game changer beans have done fantastic. Kind of the goal for the food plot was to get some Soybeans lespedeza under control. So we had to have a Roundup ready crop in here. Chad came in and planted this normal rate of beans and then decided to add some corn in. And this is low germ corn that was just thrown in about 6 to 7 pounds to the acre. And the goal and purpose for that wasn't for the extra food or extra late season crop, but honestly to break up the field itself. Some of this field can be seen kind of back behind us from a gravel road. So we wanted to obstruct the view and not just have this wide open bean field. So we added some corn, helped break it up. It did great, like really well. And we've got tons of ears of corn in here too. So this whole strategy really came together despite poor weather conditions and really heavy browsing from deer. There's points throughout the growing season that we were kind of pessimistic about what the season may bring from the success of this crop. But obviously it got some timely rains, has perked up a ton, and has produced an incredible amount of beans. But through that whole process has allowed the Soybeans lespedeza to be controlled and sprayed, nearly knocked out, and then also provide a ton of food throughout the growing season. So really we're very pleased with the production, the success, and the ability to use this crop as a tool. And now we're going to have an immense amount of food for late season. So let's take a look at what the late season crop is going to look like. Okay, so here's what we got. We've got the game changer beans. They're about hip high, mid thigh, but again, they've been browsed really heavily throughout the year. But what's really interesting, well, we want you guys to observe this with us, but the beans that really, let's say, look the best, that have the most height, doesn't often mean that they've got the most pods. So what we're seeing with these game changers is really the more browsing, a little bit more of the stress that bean's under, the higher pod production. So that makes a very good grazing bean for the food plot purpose. We've got growing season food and we've got a lot of tonnage for late season pod production. So these beans, don't get me wrong, there's a ton of pods on them, as you can see, all the way from the bottom all the way up to the top. And again, these are some of the tallest beans that this field has. But again, lots of food in there still, right? Lots of green leaves despite drier conditions. But when we compare and contrast that to other areas over here, this is a little bit lower spot in the field, you get a little bit more deer activity. But when we come over here, we can see these beans, they've been browsed much more heavy. But in here, we have got pod production. It seems that they're very clustery, almost a bush type bean. Very heavy browse pressure, but lots and lots and lots of pods coming off of these individual plants. And they're filling out really nicely. So, like, here's another plant right here. I mean, that is loaded up with pods and still experienced a lot of browse pressure throughout the growing season. Stress from the lack of rain, warmer temperatures. And here's the really cool thing too. You might have noticed that in some of these open spaces, Chad came back in and broadcasted the Legacy blend, and it's really filling in underneath. Now, it's only had like one rain since it was broadcasted, and it's present, it's there, but it's sitting there waiting on rain. So we're expecting these game changers, the original beans, to be turning here soon. But once that happens, the Legacy is waiting there, ready to really take in and fill in all the additional gaps. So we're gonna have greens, we're gonna have grains, Soybeans controlled, late season food, breaking up the field with the corn, and I don't know if there's really anything you could more ask from a food plot situation. So we're tickled. It's gonna be awesome to sit back and just watch deer in the field. Turkeys are gonna be in the field late season, so who knows what's gonna happen. But big success here with Stratton Game Changer beans.